If you want to change the name for anything that's already on your desktop or in a file, you can always select the line that it's on and hit the Enter key, and you'll get a you'll get a little highlight inside the box where the words are, and you can always type in something new there. And then hit the Enter key, and it'll freeze the name again. So I've already opened it up. I opened it up in Photoshop by dragging it down into my Photoshop in the dock. And here's our image. This size is not the same size as what the size was in the book. So we're just using the same instructions though on page 98. I'm going to adjust that. I'm just going to show you the image size is now in inches. It's about 7 inches wide, 10 inches long. I'm going to go okay. The resolution is 72. And what I'm going to do next is actually make the canvas, or the page that the image is sitting on, where the pixels are sitting, a little bit bigger in order to add something else into it. So this way we're going to go into a new button, Canvas Size. We get a little dialog box that shows that we can adjust the canvas or expand the size of the canvas in any direction. You could do that by filling in numbers here. In this case, I want to work in inches. And I want the canvas to be, I want more canvas on the bottom, so I'm going to push the image up to the top so that the top part of the image will be on the top, and any expansion of the canvas, especially in the vertical dimension, will go down. Then I'm going to change the height to 14, and this will not change the actual size of the image, it will just add extra space. So if you're building a poster or doing some advertising, you need to write some words, that's how you do it. Now I'm going to open up another file that's part of this exercise. There's a couple ways to do it. In this case, I'm going to navigate back to my desktop. And the file is on my desktop. Go New File, Desktop, Teaching Folder, Chapter 5, Start. And I'm going to use this image here called Zone Scale JPEG. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag it right on top of my image. And so here we have this little elastic box that's contained with. I'm going to drag it down to the bottom, holding down on the Shift key, expand it out to the full width. So that's why I have that extra space down there. I'm going to double click on it, and now we have what's called a smart image here. That means a smart object. That means that when we click on it, it actually will open up the original JPEG as if it was enclosed in as a nested doll. We don't need to we're not going to make any modifications on the pixels on this image, so we can just leave this the way it is. But in some cases, if you want to modify the pixels, a good idea is to rasterize the smart image, or turn it into a smart object, or turn it into a bitmap image. And here we are inside that object. See, it opened up in 2 places. I just also want to show you how now we have 2 layers. There's the background layer, and we have this zone scale little image. I'd like you to go ahead and make a copy of the background. There's always good practice. Command C, select on the background layer, go Command C, and then Command J, and it'll copy the exact background onto what's called layer 1. What we're going to do in this exercise is try to understand how tone works by matching, by how zones work, and how value in an image, value meaning how much white and black there is, by matching the different parts of the image to these zones. And it's pretty straightforward. Starting with black, all we're going to do is select on layer 1, click on it, and then look for a patch of color that's closest approximation to one of the gray, black to white zones on the bottom here. And it's also an exercise in copying and pasting. Oops. Okay, so I've selected one of those images. I'm on layer 1. I've selected a little square using a marquee tool here. And I'm going to go Command C, or edit Command C right there. And then I'm going to Command Paste, edit, Command paste. And now I have a new layer up here. That didn't work. Try it again. Okay. Let's see. And now paste. And now I have a new layer here. This is what I was trying to do. You can't see it unless you shut off the other layers. And what we're going to do simply with this is to take that new little box that we found and drag it down so it's around near the zone that tone, that almost black, very, very dark grade of black approximates. And what I'd like you to do is keep on going through this image and using the same process. Click on layer 1, click on the little marquee box and look for a tone that approximates as closely as possible the next zone in this little zone chart below here, this little photographic zone chart. So I'm going to go for one of these very dark grays. What do you think that is? About 87%, something like that. So I selected it. It's still selected. I'm on layer 1. I'm going to go edit Command C and then edit Command V or paste. And I've got my new layer. I can shut these off and then we can see it. There it is, a new one. And once again, just like before, I'm going to locate it. I know it was around here somewhere. There it is. And drag it down. I can also put it right over the color there to see what's the closest match. Let's call that about an 87. So I'd like you to go through the rest of this image. I'll do one more or two, and then I'd like you to go through the rest of this image until you have all of the different values that are represented in this image also represented as tiny little patches below. And the last thing that I want to show you about the layers is you can double click on the names of the layers and change the names of them to reflect what's there, and that's going to be a really useful thing when you start working on your project. I'm just going to type in the rough values in these layer names. So that one was 87, and 87 means 87% black. Layer 2 was, as I recall, kind of 100 to maybe let's call it 90, 99, 98. How's that sound? Okay, and I'll do a couple more just to so that we're refreshed. Everybody's refreshed on how to do that. So I'm selecting layer 1. I'm selecting the marquee button. Let's go for the lightest thing here. I'll go for this little thing, this little object. I'm going to select it. Now I'm going to use the shortcuts on the keyboard. Command C, Command V. There's our new layer. It'll keep on, as long as there's no layer 2, it'll keep on naming it layer 2. I'll go and grab it with my little arrow tool and take it down to, I guess there's a little bit of white in there, so I'll put it there. Call that 0. And let's do one more, just to get the idea of it. Where's a nice light place? And I'm to be sure that I'm on layer 1 or I'm not selecting anything. Layer, Command C, Command V. Oopsie. Command C, Command V. What I did then was I hit Command X and that deleted it. Okay. And what does that look like? What I can do is put the zone scale down lower so I can actually see when I actually get close to it. There we go. It's more like this, 71%. Right? Okay. So call that 71. So I'd like you to do at least 4 of them, 4 patches, so you can start to understand how the zones work. This is a pretty dark image. There's not much white in it. There's just this tiny bit of white and this tiny little bit of white. And there's not much light gray either. And the next exercise is going to be a demonstration in how you can start to make adjustments to your image so you can get a better range between the very, very light tones and the very dark tones. That gives you more flexibility in how you do your composition.